My dad looked me in the eyes and said, "Do you know how much money you're losing every month after secretly listing my apartment for rent?" So I responded, "You'd better stop, because that money won't be enough to bail you out of prison. I 29M need urgent help. I'm currently in Seattle on a business trip and just received the most bizarre series of messages. Over the past 24 hours, I've gotten 17 emails, 9 texts, and 6 voicemails from complete strangers asking about move-in dates, when they can pick up keys, and if the security deposit can be paid via Venmo. At first, I thought it was some kind of scam or identity theft situation. But then one person sent me a screenshot of a Craigslist ad for my apartment, my actual apartment in Chicago, with photos clearly taken inside my home, advertising it as a luxury furnished rental available immediately. I own this condo outright. Inherited it from my grandmother 2 years ago. It's a beautiful 2-bedroom 2B unit in Lincoln Park with original hardwood floors and a view of the lake. Grandmother lived there for 40 years before she passed, and she specifically left it to me in her will because she knew I'd cherish it as a home, not just see dollar signs. I live there alone. I've never listed it for rent. I'm supposed to be gone for another 4 days for this conference. The only people with keys are my parents Richard, 56M, and Patricia, 54F, who I asked to water my plants and collect my mail. When I called my mom in a panic, she laughed and said they were helping me get started in real estate investment and that I should be grateful for their initiative. She said they've already scheduled viewings for tomorrow. "Michael, honey, you're not thinking strategically," she said, using that tone she's employed since I was 12 to explain why she knew better. "That apartment is worth a fortune in rental income. Your father and I have done all the research. You could be making $4,800 a month." I explicitly told them to stop immediately. My dad got on the phone and said I was being ungrateful and that they've put a lot of work into this. He mentioned something about my sister Sarah, 27F, being involved in managing the property, but hung up when I started asking questions. The ad lists the rent at $2,400 per month for each bedroom, which is actually below market for my area. Multiple people have already confirmed they've sent deposits to someone claiming to be the property management company. The phone number on the ad isn't mine. I called it and got my sister's voicemail with some generic Lincoln Property Solutions greeting. The Craigslist ad is disturbingly professional. They've taken photos of every room, including my personal bedroom, which they've staged by removing my family photos and personal items. The description mentions professional property management, luxury amenities, and immediate availability for the right tenants. They've even created floor plans and a virtual tour link. What are my options here? Can I call the police? Is this even illegal if they have keys? How do I protect these innocent people who've sent money? I'm booking a flight home tonight, but I'm terrified of what I'll find when I get there. I've already contacted Craigslist to report the fraudulent listing, but they said it could take 24 to 48 hours to remove. The conference I'm attending is crucial for my job. I'm supposed to present tomorrow morning, but I can't focus on anything except this nightmare. Any advice would be appreciated. I'm honestly in shock that my own family would do this. Update 1 posted 3 days later. I want to thank everyone who responded to my original post. Your advice was invaluable, though I'm afraid the situation has gotten significantly worse. I flew home immediately after posting, taking a red-eye that landed at O'Hare at 2 a.m. The Uber ride to my apartment was the longest 30 minutes of my life. When I arrived, I found my front door unlocked and lights on throughout the apartment. Inside, my parents and sister were in my living room with what appeared to be rental applications spread across my coffee table. They'd moved my personal items from the master bedroom into boxes stacked in the hallway. My sister's suitcases were in my bedroom. My grandmother's antique dresser, the one she'd brought from Italy, was pushed carelessly against the wall, scratched. The confrontation was intense. My mother jumped up when she saw me smiling, as if I'd arrived for a surprise party. "Michael, you're early. We wanted to have everything ready before you got back. Look at all the interest we've generated." "Get out," I said. "All of you get out of my home right now." "Now, son," my father started using his stern businessman voice. "Let's discuss this rationally. We've created an opportunity here, Dash. You've committed fraud," I interrupted. "You've stolen money from innocent people using my property. You've moved Sarah into my bedroom. You violated every boundary possible." Here's what I learned during the 3-hour argument that followed. 1. They collected deposits from 8 different people totaling $19,200. 2. They'd promised 3 different tenants they could move in on the 1st of next month. 3. My sister had created an LLC called Lincoln Property Solutions using my address as the business address and opened a business bank account where the deposits were held. 4. They'd given tours to over 20 people while I was gone. 5. They drafted a property management agreement between me and my sister's LLC, which they expected me to sign. 6. They'd already spent $3,000 of the deposit money on business expenses, including a laptop for Sarah business cards and a website. My mother's explanation was that they were setting me up for success. She pulled out a binder with tabs labeled income projections, tax benefits, property management, best practices, and family wealth building. "We spent weeks on this, Michael," she said, tears forming in her eyes. "Your father used his business connections. Sarah left her job to focus on this opportunity. We're trying to help you build wealth." My sister, who'd been quiet until then, suddenly exploded. "I've worked my ass off setting this up. Do you know how many hours I've spent? I created a whole business model. I have a 5-year plan." She showed me her laptop with spreadsheets, logos, social media accounts for Lincoln Property Solutions, and even merchandise designs. She'd created an entire brand around managing my single apartment. My father pulled out his folder with printed articles about house hacking and a spreadsheet showing potential rental income. He'd calculated that I could make $4,800 per month renting out both bedrooms minus my sister's management fee. His projection showed me becoming a millionaire by 40 if I properly leveraged the asset. "You're living in a 2-bedroom alone," he said, shaking his head. "That's $2,400 a month you're losing. The den has a closet. It's technically a bedroom. You could live there while real tenants pay your mortgage." "What mortgage?" I asked. "I own it outright, and I'm not living in a den in my own home." "That's even worse," he exclaimed. "No mortgage means pure profit. Do you understand what you're throwing away?" The worst part, they'd already told extended family about their brilliant business venture. My Aunt Jennifer called during the argument to congratulate me on finally being smart with grandmother's gift. My cousin Brian had texted asking if I had any units available for his friend who was moving to Chicago. When I finally kicked them out at 3 a.m., my mother was sobbing about how I was destroying the family, and my father muttered about ungrateful children who don't appreciate sacrifice. Sarah screamed that I was ruining her life and that she'd quit her marketing job because they'd assured her this was her future. I changed the locks at 7 a.m. when the emergency locksmith arrived. I've been returning deposits all day and explaining the situation to rightfully angry people. 2 have threatened legal action. 1 woman cried on the phone because she'd already given notice at her current place. I've had to take time off work to deal with this mess. My sister is now blowing up my phone, claiming I'm ruining her career opportunity and that I owe her for all the work she put into setting up the LLC and creating the listings. She sent me an itemized invoice for 47 hours of work at $35 per hour, plus startup costs. My parents are telling family members that I'm being selfish and squandering my inheritance. I've consulted with a lawyer who says I may need to formally evict my sister from the LLC's registered address, my home, even though she never actually lived here. He also suggested I may be liable for some damages to the potential tenants, even though I never authorized any of this. I haven't slept in 48 hours. I'm exhausted, angry, and honestly heartbroken that my family would do this. They've turned my grandmother's home, the place where I spent every Sunday dinner as a child, where she taught me to make pasta sauce, where she told me stories about the old country, into a scheme for quick cash. Update 2, posted 2 weeks later. The situation has escalated beyond what I could have imagined. I need to document this for potential legal proceedings, so I'll try to be comprehensive. After changing the locks and beginning the process of returning deposits, I received a certified letter from an attorney representing Lincoln Property Solutions, LLC. My sister is claiming that I verbally agreed to the property management arrangement and that she has invested significant time and resources into the business. She's demanding 3 months of projected management fees, $2,880. 2 reimbursement for LLC formation costs $450. 3 compensation for 47 hours of work at $35 per hour, $1,645. 4 damages for breach of contract, $5,000. 5 reimbursement for website development, marketing materials, and software subscriptions, $1,200. Her attorney included affidavit from my parents supporting her claims. They state that during a family dinner 6 months ago, I expressed interest in generating passive income and agreed that Sarah's business background made her ideal for property management. This conversation never happened. What actually occurred was my father lecturing me about wasting potential while I ate my mother's overcooked pot roast and tried to change the subject. I mentioned that the property taxes had gone up, and apparently they interpreted this as me seeking their financial wisdom. Of the 8 people who sent deposits of 5, accepted the returned money with an apology. 2 are pursuing small claims for their travel expenses to view the apartment. A 1 has hired an attorney and is claiming significant damages. The last one is the most serious. This person, I'll call him Tom, is a 34-year-old engineer who had given notice at his current apartment, hired movers, and transferred his job to Chicago based on the signed lease my sister had provided. He's out nearly $4,000 in moving expenses and deposits at his old place. But it gets worse. He'd also sold furniture that wouldn't fit in what he thought would be his new bedroom, turned down a job offer in Milwaukee, and his girlfriend had already enrolled in a Chicago graduate program based on their planned move. Here's where it gets truly insane. I discovered my sister had created a sophisticated operation. She'd built a professional website for Lincoln Property Solutions with fake testimonials. I created a fake email address using a variation of my name, Michael. Jenkins.gmail.com versus my actual michaeljenkins@gmail.com. I generated a digital signature that looks similar to mine using online tools. I produced professional-looking lease agreements with legal language copied from legitimate property management companies. I set up a property management software account with automated responses. I created a Google business profile with staged photos. I made an Instagram account showcasing luxury Chicago rentals with photos from my apartment. I registered with several rental platforms as a verified property manager. I even had professional business cards and a car magnet made. She'd been planning this for months, not days. I found out from my cousin that Sarah had been talking about starting a property management company since last Christmas. She'd been taking online courses, attending real estate seminars, and networking with other property managers. In her mind, my apartment wasn't theft. It was her proof of concept for investors. I've hired a lawyer, David Chen, who specializes in real estate fraud. We've sent cease and desist letters and are building a case. During our investigation, we discovered that Sarah had actually shown the apartment to potential investors, telling them she managed multiple units in Lincoln Park and was looking to expand. She'd created fictional properties and was one step away from taking investor money for buildings that didn't exist. My parents are still defending her. They've hired their own lawyer and are claiming that this was all a misunderstanding and that I'm overreacting to a family business proposal. They've been calling relatives, sending emails, and even created a Facebook group called Support Sarah's Small Business, where they're sharing articles about family members who sabotage entrepreneurs. Last week, I found out why they're so invested in this scheme. My aunt let slip during a phone call where she was trying to convince me to be reasonable that my parents had promised to help with my sister's student loans if she could create a steady income stream from property management. She owes $85,000 from her MBA program and MBA. She got an entrepreneurship and innovation from a for-profit online university. But here's the real kicker. My parents are in financial trouble. My dad's printing business has been failing for years, and they've been borrowing against their house. They saw my apartment as the solution to everyone's problems. Sarah's loans their retirement shortfall and what they call my failure to maximize assets. I've had to file police reports for fraud and identity theft, put fraud alerts on my credit, and monitor all my accounts daily, install security cameras, which I discovered Sarah had already installed for the tenant's safety, hire a cleaning service to undo the staging they'd done. Send legal notices to all the rental platforms where the apartment was listed, a deal with angry reviews on Google from people calling me a scam landlord. The emotional toll is overwhelming. I can't sleep in my own bedroom because I keep imagining strangers' belongings there. I've had panic attacks thinking about people having keys to my home. My work performance is suffering and my boss has noticed. I'm considering selling the apartment just to end any future attempts at this kind of manipulation. The thought breaks my heart. This was my grandmother's home where she raised my mother, where I spent countless holidays. But it's been tainted now. Update 3 posted 1 month later. I thought I'd seen the worst of it, but I was wrong. This update is hard to write. 2 weeks after my last post, I came home from work to find my apartment door open. My heart dropped. Inside, my sister was directing movers. She'd somehow gotten a locksmith to let her in by showing the LLC documentation, proving she was the property manager, along with a fake lease showing her as the authorized occupant. The locksmith, trying to be helpful, had drilled out my new locks. Half of my living room furniture was already in the hallway. My grandmother's china cabinet was disassembled. Her photographs were packed in boxes labeled previous tenant storage. Sarah had brought a whole crew, her boyfriend Tyler, 2 friends from her MBA program, and 3 hired movers. She was live streaming on Instagram narrating how she was taking possession of her office space and preparing units for tenants. She'd moved her belongings into my bedroom and set up the second bedroom as an office for Lincoln Property Solutions. My home office, where I work remotely 2 days a week, had been transformed into a leasing center with a desk, filing cabinets, and a large Lincoln Property Solutions banner on the wall. "Oh, Michael," she said when she saw me not missing a beat in her live stream. "Everyone, this is the previous tenant. Don't worry, he's just picking up some remaining items. We've given him adequate notice." I called 911 immediately. The situation was chaos. Sarah showing the officers her LLC papers, the fake lease agreements, and claiming I was the one trespassing. Her boyfriend was recording everything, claiming it was for legal documentation, but really hoping to make me look bad. Her MBA friends were chiming in with legal-sounding jargon about tenant rights and proper eviction procedures. It took 2 hours, and my real estate attorney arriving with documentation to get them removed. The police were initially confused. Sarah had created such elaborate paperwork that they weren't sure who actually lived there. She'd even changed the utilities into the LLC's name and had mail addressed to her at my address. The damage discovered after they left, and she'd posted apartment tour videos on social media, tagging my location. I listed the address on Google as Lincoln Property Solutions headquarters. I changed the shipping address for several online accounts to my apartment. I had business cards printed with my address. I filed a change of address form with USPS, scheduled furniture deliveries for the next day. I posted on LinkedIn about her new office space with photos. I created Zillow and Apartments.com listings with professional photography. I hired a cleaning service to come the next morning. A scheduled internet installation for faster business connectivity. The worst part, my parents had given her $5,000 to invest in the business and were expecting returns. They'd also co-signed a business line of credit for $20,000, which she'd already partially used for startup costs. When she couldn't deliver the promised rental income, they blamed me. Tom, the tenant who broke his lease, served me with a lawsuit for $12,000 in damages. His attorney argued that even though I didn't authorize the rental, the sophisticated nature of the fraud, and my failure to properly secure my property made me partially liable. My lawyer countered with evidence of the fraud, but I still had to settle for $3,000 to make it go away. The other small claims cases cost me another $1,500 in total. Then came the family explosion. My sister posted a series of TikToks about entrepreneurship discrimination and how her own family sabotaged her woman-owned business. She created a whole narrative about being a young female entrepreneur trying to break into real estate and facing persecution from her privileged brother who inherited property but won't share opportunities. These went semi-viral in our city. She gained thousands of followers overnight. Local influencers started sharing her story. A small business advocacy group even featured her in their newsletter as an example of family bias against female entrepreneurs. I've had strangers recognize me at the grocery store as the brother who crushed her dreams. Someone spit at me in a coffee shop. My parents took her side publicly. My mom posted on Facebook about how some children appreciate their parents' guidance while others throw it in their faces. She shared photos of the binder they'd created, calling it months of wasted love and effort. My dad sent an email to extended family explaining how they tried to help me build wealth, but I was too prideful to accept wisdom. He attached the business plan they created, which showed projections of me becoming a multi-millionaire by expanding into other properties. The extended family chose sides. My Aunt Jennifer started a group me called Team Sarah, where they share articles about successful property managers and passive income strategies. My Uncle Christopher sent me a long text about how I was spitting on grandmother's memory by not maximizing her gift. My cousin Emily, who's a realtor, offered to list the apartment for me since I clearly can't handle the responsibility. Here's the nuclear option I had to take. I sued my sister for fraud, identity theft, trespassing, and damages. My lawyer assembled an airtight case with all the evidence, the fake signatures, the unauthorized lease agreements, the illegally collected deposits, the breaking and entering, the social media videos of her in my apartment without permission. When she was served, she called me sobbing, saying I was ruining her life over a misunderstanding. "You're going to give me a criminal record," she wailed. "I'll never be able to work in real estate. You're destroying my future over a simple business disagreement." My parents then did something I never expected. They tried to have me declared mentally incompetent. They filed a petition with the court claiming I was having a breakdown and making irrational financial decisions by living alone in a 2-bedroom apartment instead of maximizing rental income. They wanted to become my financial conservators. Their evidence included aid-rejected reasonable business advice from successful family members. AI was isolating myself from family by not attending recent gatherings. AI showed paranoid behavior by changing locks and hiring lawyers. AI was wasting my inheritance by not generating income. AI displayed unusual attachment to material possessions, the apartment. AI was sabotaging family relationships over money. A bank statement showing I'd spent money on lawyers instead of investing. testimony from family members about my recent personality changes. They'd gotten 5 family members to write statements about my concerning behavior. My aunt wrote that I'd become hostile and paranoid when she'd simply asked about rental opportunities. My uncle claimed I'd shown signs of mental distress by refusing to discuss business at Thanksgiving. The judge threw it out in minutes, calling it one of the most blatant attempts at financial manipulation he'd seen. He warned my parents they could face charges for filing a frivolous petition. But the fact they tried, that they sat in a lawyer's office and strategized about how to take control of my finances, broke something in me. Final update posted 3 months after original post. I'm writing this from a hotel in Portland. I sold the apartment last month. The legal proceedings ended with my sister pleading no contest to fraud charges in exchange for probation and restitution. She has to pay me back $7,500 over 3 years. She's also barred from any property management activities and has to complete 200 hours of community service. My parents paid her legal fees and still maintain she did nothing wrong. At her sentencing, they glared at me from the gallery while she cried and told the judge I'd destroyed her entrepreneurial spirit. The apartment sold quickly for $15,000 over asking. The new owners are a young couple who seemed genuinely excited about the place. During the final walkthrough, I didn't mention the drama. I just told them about the Sunday dinners, the homemade pasta, the stories my grandmother would tell. I hope they have better memories there than my final ones. The aftermath of the criminal case was brutal. Sarah's viral TikTok followers turned on her when the fraud charges became public. The small business group that had featured her issued a retraction and apology. She lost her marketing job when they discovered she'd lied about why she needed time off. The $20,000 line of credit my parents co-signed is now their problem. The family fallout is complete. I'm no contact with my parents and sister. They've spun a narrative where I'm the villain who got Sarah a criminal record over a family business disagreement. About half the extended family has taken their side. The other half quietly reached out to say they understood, but they don't want to get involved publicly. I spent Thanksgiving alone in my Portland hotel room with Chinese takeout and Netflix. It was honestly peaceful. No one lecturing me about maximizing assets. No business proposals disguised as family bonding. No one calculating the rental value of my dinner plate. Christmas was harder. My grandmother always hosted Christmas Eve dinner. The Feast of the 7 Fishes, she called it. I made her marinara sauce alone in my hotel room kitchenette and cried. The money from the sale is in a trust now with a national investment firm managing it. No family member has access or even knows which firm. I used some of it to pay off Tom's additional damages after his attorney kept pushing. I donated $10,000 to a tenants' rights organization in Chicago. The rest is invested conservatively. I've learned my lesson about sharing financial information. Sarah's LLC was dissolved by court order. She's working at a marketing firm now, a different one in the suburbs, for much less money. She's blocked me on all social media, but I heard through a friend of a friend that she tells people she used to run a property management company but had to close due to family jealousy. She's apparently writing a book about entrepreneurship and betrayal. My parents sent one last letter through their lawyer demanding I pay them back $4. At the time, they spent showing the apartment 150 hours at $50 per hour. A gas money for the showings, $340. At the $5,000 they gave Sarah for the business. And the business plan creation, $2,000 in consulting fees. A pain and suffering for the family embarrassment, $10,000. A lost future earnings from their investment in the property management company, $50,000. I didn't respond. My lawyer sent a single line. Any further contact will be considered harassment. They've apparently told everyone that I owe them $67,340 and am refusing to pay my debts. My mother created a spreadsheet showing how I've stolen from the family. They've consulted with 3 different lawyers trying to find a way to sue me. So far, none have taken the case. I'm in therapy now processing the betrayal and grief. My therapist says what they did was a form of financial abuse wrapped in the language of helping. She's helped me understand that their actions were never about my success. They were about control and using my resources for their benefit. They didn't see you, she explained during one session. They saw an asset. When you insisted on being a person with boundaries instead of a resource to be exploited, they tried to remove your personhood through the incompetency filing. Some hard truths I've learned. My family never saw my grandmother's apartment as a home full of memories. They saw square footage and rental potential. While I was preserving the smell of her sauce simmering on Sunday, they were calculating price per square foot. When I kept her furniture, they saw wasted staging opportunities. Her photographs weren't family history. They were clutter affecting property values. The saddest part in their minds, they really were helping. They've so internalized capitalism that they genuinely believe not monetizing every aspect of life is mental illness. They can't understand choosing memories over money, choosing peace over profit, choosing to simply exist in a space without extracting value from it. To those who asked why I didn't just rent out a room legitimately, it was never about the money. That apartment was my grandmother's last gift to me. She lived there for 40 years, raised my mother there, made love and art and food there. She specifically left it to me because she knew I'd appreciate it as a home, not an investment. Michelle. She told me before she died, holding my hand. That place has good bones and better memories. Don't let them make it just about money. Promise me. I promised. My parents knew this and didn't care. Some lessons learned. 1. Never give family access to your property without clear boundaries. 2. Document everything even with family, especially with family. 3. Trust your gut when something feels wrong. 4. It's okay to choose peace over family. 5. Financial abuse can come from those who claim to love you most. 6. Some people see everything as a transaction. 7. Protecting yourself isn't betrayal even if they say it is. 8. You can't fix people who don't see you as human. 9. Grief for living family can be worse than grief for the dead. 10. Sometimes the price of peace is everything you used to call home. I'm starting fresh in Portland with a new job and a small rental. I work for a nonprofit now, which would horrify my parents, throwing away your business degree, they'd say. I'm slowly building a chosen family of friends who respect boundaries, who understand that not everything needs to be optimized, who can enjoy dinner without calculating its return on investment. I still have days where I question if I overreacted, but then I remember coming home to find strangers' belongings in my bedroom and my sister claiming my home as her office. I remember my parents trying to have me declared incompetent for not wanting roommates. I remember the Christmas ornaments my grandmother hand-painted packed in a box labeled previous tenant. Thank you to everyone who offered support and advice. You helped me realize I wasn't crazy, and that standing up for myself was the right choice, even if it cost me my family. To anyone dealing with similar boundary violations, you're not overreacting. Your space, your assets, and your choices deserve respect. Family doesn't get a free pass to steamroll your life. Love shouldn't come with a business plan attached. I won't be updating again. It's time to close this chapter and move forward. Stay strong, Reddit. Protect your boundaries. Choose peace. And if your family ever offers to help with your finances, maybe get it in writing first, or just run. Edit to those asking, yes, I'm in therapy. Yes, I've grieved the family I thought I had. No, I don't regret protecting myself. And to the person who messaged asking if the apartment is available now, I can't tell if you're trolling or didn't read the post, but either way, the answer is no. To those who shared similar stories, my heart goes out to you. Family financial abuse is real and devastating. You're not alone.